Greetings, everyone. This is Payman Lorenzi, host of the Leaders Without podcast. Today, I have once again an incredible guest, my good friend Jessica from beautiful Seattle. We had a beautiful conversation last week. She's an amazing person, lots of wisdom. She's a spiritual director, mentor, companion, been coaching for 20 years, been a college professor for 20 years. She's teaching and helping people to walk on the spiritual path. She's been doing that for years. Been quite a journey, as well as she's a therapist. She's a published author. She has a book published on synchronicity. A lot of things. I love her mission in life, which is spiritual, helping people in their spiritual direction to lead you in their next step. Doing a lot of good things. Most importantly, she has a big heart, the size of the universe, very heart centered. And I'm super happy to have her here today with us. And we're going to unpack all of that today. So, Jessica, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here.
Pleasure's all mine. So, wow, I'm still shaking from the last call I just had with the hypnotherapist about my life. We're not going to get into that because we can talk for an hour about that. So I don't want to do that. So it's about you, not about me. So, listen, for people who don't know you, tell us, who's Jessica as a person, as a human being? We're going to talk about your professional life after, but as a person, human being, who's Jessica?
I'm a centered person, a spiritual person. I feel that my calling is to help develop leaders. And so when you do that, you have to be a leader yourself and you have to have that experience. And so my gift to the world is to do that and to educate people.
Love that. We're going to unpack that in a moment. But as I told you last time we spoke on this podcast, I like to have a look under the hood to see what's in your heart, to have a heart-to-heart conversation, hence the name Leaders with a Heart. Because, when it comes to business, when you're looking for someone to do business with, sure, everybody that you look at, they're all professionals qualified with all the credentials. But ultimately, the person you're going to choose and select to do business is going to be the person that you can connect as a person first, as human being first. If you can connect with that person, that's the one it's going to be a natural progression for you to do business with them. So this is the focus on this podcast, to get to know the person behind the titles. So in order to achieve that, I'm going to ask you a series of short, rapid fire questions to get to know you first. Are you ready and excited?
I am.
All right, awesome. So tell us, Jessica, what makes you happy as a person?
Being alive and sharing life with other people.
Oh, that's huge. Because if you're not alive, you can't do much, Sounds obvious, but absolutely. Now, what makes you smile?
When I see other people smile.
And I can see the energy, absolutely. Yeah. Speaking of that, let's take that a notch or two higher. What makes your heart sing? What makes you come alive?
What makes me come alive is when I feel like I'm a tree and that I have a connection to the spiritual life, but also a connection to the earth. I'm very practical, but very spiritual.
Wow, together. Amazing. Now, on the other side of the spectrum, what makes you sad and angry?
When people don't want to talk with each other, they're angry about something and they can't even take the step to want to be with each other and to resolve an issue. There's that brick wall syndrome.
Yes, absolutely agree with you. Now, what scares you?
What scares me? I'm such a person that wants challenges, so things don't scare me as much as other people. Wow.
Not even the dark, not even spiders.
Not even spiders are good. A snake maybe that surprises me. That's one. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Now, tell us, what would you say is your number one personal superpower?
Listening.
Oh, yes.
I think that is key for the helping professions and what I do as a spiritual director. But, taking that professional apart, my gift to the world is the ability to listen and to listen without judgment.
That's key because God gave us two ears and one mouth because we need to listen twice as much as we need to talk. Because if we need to talk twice, we would have two or three mouths, one here, maybe one here, you know.
Everybody's talking at once.
Exactly. No, that's so true. That's so true. Listening is a powerful skill. Absolutely. Awesome. Now, you like traveling, right?
Oh, I love traveling.
What was the very first trip you remember that you took?
It was to the Oregon coast, and it was when I was a child, and it was a family trip, and we drove there, and that was the first time I saw the ocean. And
Oh,
so
wow.
water is a big, big deal to me, and I must live around the water.
Sure. Awesome. Let me take you now on a different type of trip. You've already started toward that journey, a trip down memory line.
Okay.
Go back to when you were a young girl. You know, when we're young kids, people around us, family, friends, relative, teachers ask us, "So, Jessica, what do you want to become when you grow up?" What was your answer back then?
I wanted to be a Jesuit priest
Oh, why?
because I felt God was calling me to that. And I
Amazing.
felt such a spiritual draw. I grew up on a wheat farm, and I felt that God was in the wheat fields and could talk to me.
Wow.
You know,
Re-
it wasn't like certain days or anything. God was always there and always to talk with.
Amazing. Were you able to also communicate and understand with animals?
Oh, very much so. Yes, we had
Wow.
animals as well.
I just talked a few days ago on the podcast with a lady. She has a book that she published. She's in Australia that she's able to communicate with animals. I will, if you want, I can connect you with her after this call because you guys
Oh,
would
I
have a
love
lot in
that.
common. Yeah, so that's amazing. Wow. All right. So when you were a kid in school, what was your favorite subject in school?
I was lucky to have a first grade teacher who was an artist. And so art was in everything, whether she taught us reading, art was part of it, math, that was part of it. We dipped candles, we did all of these activities, and she had the whole classroom in color. So
That's
color
amazing.
is really important.
Amazing.
Yeah.
You know, the roles teachers play is absolutely phenomenal because if a teacher is, you can connect. Again, coming back to what I said, people connect as a person. If the teacher is good, you will develop, you know, an interest and love for that subject, and vice versa. If the teacher is not good or whatever, you will have the same thing. Something similar happened to me. I enjoyed math, but at one point I had a teacher that wasn't good or whatever. I mean, they were not good at the personal level. And as a result of that, I completely phased out. And after that, I couldn't be bothered with math. Has that happened to you as well when a teacher was not good and that completely turned you off from a subject?
Oh, yes. Because I didn't understand some, I think it was algebra or something. And so that really, when I became a college professor, I would tell my students, you know, there's things I want you to learn. You need to learn the content. But if I don't teach you to love learning, I have failed as a professor. Loving learning is the most important thing, the most important takeaway of any class.
Absolutely.
And you will learn the rest of your life, whether you are in the classroom or not. So please know the best ways you can learn. Yeah.
Absolutely. So when you look back at your youth growing up, how would you describe it with one word?
Joy.
Mm, that's
Yeah.
amazing,
I
especially
was
growing up.
very fortunate.
Yes,
I was very
absolutely.
fortunate in that I grew up on a farm because that taught me a lot about animals, about
Mm,
things that are different, you know, taking care of the land, taking care of animals, and taking care of humans. And it also taught me the cycle of life of things will go up, things will go down, things are going to grow, things need to be stagnant. So I don't take it so personally when, you know, daily life, you know, you get a high, something wonderful happens, and then you drop down into, oh, I'm in sadness. No, that's just part of the cycle of life. And so that makes it a lot easier for me. And that's something I try to extend to clients that I work with.
Absolutely. And you growing up on a farm has allowed you, I'm sure, to learn some invaluable life skills that, for example, God forbid, if anything were to happen, you would be able to survive. You will be able to grow your food and all of those
Right.
things that a lot of people living in the urban centers may not be able to do so.
Exactly, exactly. And it also brought us closer together as a family.
Totally.
And my father shared, well, this is what a balance sheet looks like. I got that very young instead of, learning that in high school or college.
And in a
And
very
this is what we
practical
need.
way, too.
Right, right. And this is marketing, and this is our clients, and we sold our wheat worldwide. So how can we satisfy our customers?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
This is the best form of education because you're not just reading or learning from some boring, textbook from a boring teacher and you see no practical application of it. But when you're working on a farm and a farm business, you see how it applies to everyday life, to your family's life. This
Absolutely.
you not only have to learn it, you have no choice, but also it's much more interesting because you see the actual real life value of it.
Right, right. And that's when I learned also about car mechanics. And you asked
Wow.
me the question, what scares you? Well, sometimes the car, if I can't figure out what's wrong with my car, that scares me. But yet I have the background to go, okay, it's just step by step. If I don't know what to do, there's experts to help me.
Did
And
you change your own oil yourself and do all
oh,
your basic
yes.
car maintenance? Oh my God, it's amazing. Wow,
Absolutely.
that's awesome.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. Now, let's move forward from the time you left school to now. How would you describe your path? Would you say it was as soon as you get into one lane, it was pretty much straightforward, smooth sailing, or was it turns and twists like a roller coaster?
So give me kind of an age range. Would this
From the
be
time you left college.
college? Okay. So I found out I couldn't be a priest, right? So I thought, how can I do a ministry or some kind of thing? Or how can I use my creative self? Because I believe that God gives us a mission. I believe that when we can be creative, that's how we are close to God because God's a creator. So I love film. I've been a film director. And one of my
Oh,
major people that I love was Edith Head. And she won 11 Academy Awards for costume design. And so I became a costume designer and worked
wow.
in theater. And then I also worked in apparel manufacturing. So I worked for, Pendleton Woolen Mills and companies like that. And that's very creative work.
You mentioned film director. What kind of movies did you directed?
So I've directed a Western, I've
Wow.
directed,
Those are my
uh,
favorites.
yes, I love
Oh,
Westerns.
yes, me
And,
too.
and also my focus had been on family business, surprise, right? So the one about the Western was about a family and their ranch going under. And then there was another one about where I shot in a winery. And here were three brothers fighting over a will and what happens when you don't have that cohesive family tie and how they all separated, but they chose to go their own way. But yeah, film is wonderful, and it can express, it can educate, it can inspire.
That's amazing. Well, what's the name of that Western? I'm gonna look it up and watch it if I can.
Oh, sure, yes, I'll post some things up.
All right, cool, awesome.
Yeah.
Now, so working in the film industry, what was the number one thing that you really loved about it?
As a film director, I was in charge of the actors. So how do I keep their souls inspired and safe on the set? Because they're taking many, many risks. How do I keep my team, my crew cohesive? And then to tell a story. Oh, I'm so lucky. I get to bring people a story. I'm a storyteller. And this bringing all of these people and technology together to tell a story.
Wow,
Nothing better in the world. Nothing better.
absolutely, absolutely. Because
So
go ahead, sorry.
so I was saying, that's what the joy is of, if I look over my life, it's all storytelling. And even in spiritual direction, I help people with their stories, listening to their stories, moving forward with their stories. Oh, I've hit a bump in my spiritual life. I don't know how to get through it. Well, let's see if we can change the plot of your story.
That's
So
beautiful. Isn't life, after all, just a succession of stories? Because every person you deal with, regardless of your business, to bring it back to business, every client, every customer, every deal, every launch, every product, every promotion, it's a person, it's a story that is worth sharing. Everything is a story.
absolutely. Absolutely. And there's so much about perception. Our perception is a story in itself, and we can change our perception. Well, I think this client is like this, but they may totally turn out to be that, or I can guide them to be that, or how can I help them to achieve the story that they want to create?
That's a beautiful segue. Speaking of story, I'm sure you've heard the saying, change your story, change your life. By story, I mean what we keep on telling ourselves on a daily basis. So when you,
Absolutely.
Jessica, had to change your story to change your life or bring your life to where you wanted to be, how did you do it? Did you do it to help of friends, family, mentors, books? So tell us a process that you used to change your story in order to change your life.
Well, for many years, I thought, oh, I can't be a film director. I don't know what that means. I don't know what to do. But I believe you have to set your intention first of what is possible in the interior world of, this is what I want. So, and also in my life, I have a deep connection with God. God, this is what I would like in my life. Let's work on this together. And then please show me the people that will help me. And that's when synchronicity comes in, of the setting the intention, and people come in. And that is a way to tell you, hey, I'm on the right path. If I'm moving forward in this way and people are coming my way, if money is coming my way, if other resources are coming my way. So that was a big game changer. I went from a desire to be a film director into actually doing it.
That's powerful. How did you get into the film industry? How did you get into that?
I started with meeting people who were already in the business and being courageous enough to say, will you mentor me? Will you help me? This is what I want to do. And it takes a lot of guts at times, especially when you're talking with Hollywood people. One of my mentors was Ron Vidor, who was been in the business for 40 years as a camera operator and director of photography. And there's kind of that, oh, I don't know if I'm good enough to talk to him or to even express my wishes. But he said, Jessica, I really like you because you ask me good questions and you don't waste my time. Of course, I'll mentor you.
Oh,
And so that's mentorship. So I was giving him what he needed and he gave me what I needed. It was perfect.
beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Wow. Whew, so many things we can talk about. All right. So, one thing I noticed is that, and that's something I see in other industries as well, that people are saying, oh, back then, I mean, now we live in a connected world with social media omnipresent and all that. And at the same time, while everything is so much more connectable, reachable, but also a lot more disconnected because people are not that connected to the person next to you, whatever. They connected with people all around the world, not next to you. So would you say that, and I've heard that in other industries that say, oh, back then it was a lot easier to build connection with people because people were more down to earth, more wholesome than today. Would you say that this also applies to the movie industry, the film industry now, that versus when you started and was a lot easier not to break through, but to get meaningful conversation with the right people in order to have at least a chance?
I think it's the challenges are different in every age.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But there's still that human connection that needs and wants to be made. And the storytelling, if you ask almost any actors that I know, they will say, it's the story that drove me into accepting this job. And if you're a good storyteller and you've got a good heart, you will connect with who you need to. And if you don't, some of the toughest times for me is I really thought that one person, I really need to go with this person, and they don't call back or they don't, respond. Hey, it's okay. It's all right. I wasn't meant to, and it's totally fine. Some other door will open.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And looking at your totally agree with you. Looking back, sorry, at your story, what would you say was the part of your story that was the most compelling, the most powerful, and in a way also your biggest asset to open doors for you?
It was a belief in myself that no matter what I wanted or what I wanted to create, it will come if you are certain. You have to build that certainty in yourself of, this is exactly what I want, and I'm going toward this path, and it doesn't matter what anybody else says, including the inner voices who tell me, I'm not sure.
Yeah. Isn't that little voice our own biggest enemy?
Yes, it can be. But
Absolutely.
I believe there's two voices, one that
Oh,
tells
yes.
you not so much, and then the other one going, no, stay the path. You're going to get there.
They have a cheerleader and a detractor in your head at all times. Absolutely, yes. Just like the cartoons, you have the good angel and a little devil, around your head, almost.
Right.
Absolutely. Wow. Amazing. Now, let's talk about your business. Tell us what you're doing now. What can tell us about all the amazing impacts and beautiful things you're doing in the world right now?
So my business is Your Next Step Spiritual Direction. And what I do is I am a companion for people to take a spiritual journey. And most of my clients are people who are either in a crisis, maybe they lost their job, lost a parent. Sometimes they are unsure of what to do. Maybe they're lost of, I feel so empty at night. I've got this great job. I've got the car. I've got this, but I'm feeling personally unfulfilled, and I don't feel like I can connect in any spiritual way. And it doesn't have to specifically be a spiritual tradition. It can be, a belief in God or no belief. It's just, I feel like there's a spiritual part of me that I'm denying its existence, or I won't let grow. And then the also is, I feel like I'm not reaching my potential. And so those are some areas where I have people. And so it's all customized. There's no set pattern of a person comes in, and we may focus on their next path. We may focus on, are there ways to pray or meditate that I can teach them? Are there other resources that I can give to them? But mainly it's that listening. I provide a safe space for people to express themselves. And I don't think that happens a lot in this world. And so that's what I do the most, is
Certainly.
listen.
So,
Yeah.
so you've, if I remember correctly, you said you've been doing this for a year, right?
So formally for a year, but I've been doing it with coaching and college professor. It's actually been for, 30 years,
Oh, wow.
but one specifically, I had a 2-year training that I went through that leads you to this profession.
Awesome. Now, what would you
So
say is the person that you can serve at the highest level? Basically, who's your ideal client?
my ideal client is a leader in a business. Usually they're the CEO or founder. I work with a lot of entrepreneurs. And being an entrepreneur myself, I have kind of special background of knowing what some of the challenges are and some of the strains on relationships that entrepreneurs have. Another thing that I should also bring is sometimes people have spiritual experiences and they're like, this happened and I don't know what this means or why it happened. Can you help me walk through it? And I believe as a journey as an entrepreneur, you will have these experiences. And so I really like to work with people through what does this mean? And it's actually their meaning toward it. I'm not telling them what the meaning is. I'm listening and asking that person to draw out their meaning toward what is happening. And that's where the power comes.
Totally, totally. Now, speaking of power and transformation, and I'm sure you've helped many people transform their lives. Can you share with us an example of the most remarkable transformation you've seen from one of your clients so far?
I think it was very interesting. I had a young man who he was in a blue collar job, and he said, I'm not a leader. I really don't know why I'm here, except I just feel empty. And through our process and walking beside him, he was able to see himself as a leader within his organization. He didn't change his position. He was still a middle manager. He's had people, and that was his big thing, was I have people below me and I have people above me, and I feel so empty. But at the end of our journey and the end of our time, he said, I am a leader. I do have influence. I can have power within what I do. And that was critical, to know that you can help people like that.
Absolutely. So what is your process? What is the structure of your programs? Is it more like one-on-one? Is it small groups? Is it weekly calls? Is it ongoing? So tell us about the structure. For example, if I'm interested or anyone interested in this, tell us about the structure from when we join you to when we get the results. Tell us about all of that good stuff.
Okay, so I do an intake interview, and we usually set up calls either, usually it's once a month, and we will talk over and we will look at the focus. What kind of goals do you want to have during this session and during the whole time that we can see? Maybe we're going to work together for 6 months to start, and then we'll renew that as we need to. But what are the person's goals? What are their challenges? And, as you had many questions for me at the beginning, what scares you? What brings you joy? That's part of the intake. I want to know the person as well as I can. Yeah.
Totally. Wow. Amazing. Now.
And probably one thing I should also say is, even though spiritual, it means different things to different people, I'm not here to proselytize anybody or to lead them to any religion or specific religious tradition. That's not my role.
Okay, perfect. Makes sense. Now, in business is a very powerful and crucial principle called having an irresistible offer. What would you say is your irresistible offer?
My irresistible offer is a person who can work with you one-to-one on what you want in your life, but in a spiritual format, to walk with spirit and not to be afraid of it.
Awesome. Love that. How are you getting your client? What's your marketing game plan?
It is word of mouth right now, but I want to, this is one of the reasons for the podcast and learning more about podcasts, is I want to bring it more to the world. We've got the technology of Zoom now that we didn't have, and many different ways to reach out to people worldwide.
And yes, we talked last time, and for you, this would be an amazing tool for you. Absolutely, to share the messages, because this is all about sharing stories, messages, and yeah, absolutely, definitely. Now, let's the theme of this podcast is cause. What would you say is a cause that is dear passion that you're very passionate about?
So why am I so passionate about what I do?
What cause? Like, for example, for me is education, especially sports. Like in my business, as you know, I'm launching next week a 3-week challenge to help people find a voice so they can become the leader they are, in order for them to have the biggest impact by launching their podcast. And I was browsing on the B1G1. Have you heard of B1G1?
No.
It's one of the most beautiful, wonderful, empowering organization in the world. So B1G1, buy one, give one. It was founded in 2007 by Mr. Paul Dunn and his partner at the time, and now wife, Masami Sato. And they basically, anytime a business does anything happens, someone in need gets benefit, gets help. Like for example, each time someone, for example, gets on a Zoom call, a child in the third world, for example, gets access to education. Each time a company sends an email, something is mundane and simple, somebody in the third world, for example, gets access to clean water or food or things like that. So I was looking at the website with all of the project to find one thing that I could really get excited about to link to my business, because my business is a business with a cause. Each time someone would become a sign up for the challenge, I would do something good. And me, what I really love of my life, the passion of my life is football, soccer. Growing up in Europe, I wanted to become a professional football player. I wasn't good enough, but then in 2015, I got an incredible opportunity to work as a professional coach in China, coaching teenagers and youngsters. And I saw how powerful, for me, the two biggest schools of life have been sports and travel. This is where I learned the biggest lessons in life. And when I was working and coaching these kids, I saw how football can be a powerful platform, not only to teach them, but to empower them, to inspire them. So when I saw that there was on the website a project that you can sponsor a year of access to a child or a teen in India to have access to football and sports, I swear to you, Jessica, just like I was just talking to you when we first connected today, I was shaking. I was having goosebumps, and I literally cried because this spoke directly to me. I said, football, this is my passion, my religion. I can connect this to my business. I said, okay. And the first thing I did, I messaged both Mr. Paul and Masami. Said, hey guys, is this project still running on? I said, absolutely. I said, okay, this is what I'm gonna link to my business. So each time someone joins in, I will be sponsoring a year of access to football and sports for a child and a teen in India. So this is what I'm passionate: education and sports, football for kids. What about you? What is a project? So not a project. What is a cause that is very dear to your heart?
One of the causes that's very, very dear to my heart, it's called American Hero Quilts. And what I have done, and I donate in a different platform, is women make quilts, well, men too, make quilts for soldiers, because the tagline for their organization is "A quilt is a hug."
Oh
And
wow,
it's
love that.
to support soldiers. We send quilts overseas, and these are all handmade quilts from people who are local. They send them overseas and to local military hospitals. And it reminds people that people care about service people. And so that's one of my causes that's very dear.
Love that. Love that. That's beautiful. Wow. Because
But I
for
will check out that B1G one. That sounds fascinating.
absolutely. And the one thing I really love about B1G1 is that unlike other organizations, 100% of the proceeds that you give goes directly to the causes. They don't have any admin fees or anything like that. And impact, once you go to the website, you can browse at all the projects, can literally, for pennies, and I mean really pennies, like 20 cents, 30 cents, even a penny, you can do good for each time you or your business does something, literally for pennies. I saw a project for 1 cent, and that's phenomenal because we can do, when we talk about impact and giving, it doesn't have to be expensive or whatever. Something as insignificant, like for example, to sponsor a year of education for a child might cost you $100. For me and you, $100 is nothing much, but that can be life changing for someone else. Something that we
Absolutely.
consider meaningless can be completely life changing for someone else. So impact, no matter how small it might seem, it's going to be impactful, helpful to someone. And also it's the intention, the intention, the vibration you send, the frequency and all that. That doesn't, you cannot put a price tag on that. It's a gesture.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you're giving of yourself, not just of your money, which is energy, but your energy as well, your
Absolutely.
thought energy.
Because for me, that's something I'm very passionate. I'm building this podcast as more than a podcast. I see it as a platform, as a community, as a movement, ultimately, to bring in enlightened entrepreneurs from around the world that are building impactful businesses, not just for me and them to have wonderful conversation and for you to share your story, but if me and you talking, you're sharing your powerful story, your wonderful mission, if we can inspire just one person to do good with their business, and that person goes on to inspire another person, and so on and so forth, then together we can really create and build, you know, a ripple effect around the world that's going to change the direction, the frequency, the vibration of this planet, because not any single individual can change the world by themselves. But if each and every single one of us, we do a tiny little bit in our own circle of influence, and then that's going to spread. Like, math was never my strong, but I understand 1+1 is 2. Correct me if I'm wrong. But in real life, 1+1, especially when two people with the same vision come together, it's not 2, but 11. 3 people is not 3, but 111. 4 people is not 4, but 1,111. So it exponentially explodes. And that's why if each and every single one of us do a little bit, then before long is going to be a tremendous global, powerhouse, a wave that's going to, be for the good. And that's ultimately my ultimate, vision, what I want to. And I believe this is also part of my mission to be here.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. And to help us create more spheres of influence. Absolutely.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and to have, the spiritual life also working within all of these people as well.
Totally.
It's huge.
And also because, I'm a firm believer and big fan of, not only building businesses with a cause, but also, I strongly believe that, building a business with a purpose or a cause not only is the right thing to do as a human being, but also is good for business. People love doing business with businesses that care, especially now, especially during this pandemic. Pandemic, as horrible as it may have been, it has served to as a wake-up call, as a time for a lot of people to reflect on what really matters. And more people are so-called waking up and making more mindful decisions, or becoming more and more spiritual. And that's why I see this beautiful wave around the world that, hey, people are becoming much more heart-centered. Before that, if you talked to me like 2 years ago about heart-centered, I would say, okay, this is for the cuckoos and the crazies and whatnot. But since I had my spiritual awakening, I totally,
Sure.
I not only I see myself as one of them, but more importantly, I see this beautifully spreading around the world.
Right. And it used to be that, business is over here, spiritual was over here.
Yeah,
No, they're one and the same.
absolutely. And you know what is the most powerful thing? When you build a business which is much bigger than you, not only is going to give you purpose, the vision, and the mission, but also most importantly, when you build a business with a heart, it's a lot more fun too.
Absolutely.
You don't
Because
need.
inside, you don't have to fight your inner demons inside when you're in congruence of what you are here to do, plus the business you're running.
You don't have
It's
to.
not just outside world.
You don't need an alarm clock in the morning to wake up. You won't mind. I mean, you will actually enjoy working 60, 70 hours a week because you know that this is actually having an impact. And, and
Right.
that's, if impact aligns with your heart for you, it's not even going to be considered work. It's your mission. You're here because of that.
Right. Yeah. And
So,
isn't it exciting? It's so exciting to be able to wake up and I'm ready to go.
oh yeah, full of passion and excitement, energy and love and all the absolute. It's beautiful. It's contagious. And all is contagious for you. But if you have staff, it's also going to, spread to your staff, give them this energy, this excitement, because they know they're working towards something much bigger than just a paycheck and something else,
Right. And and you're the leader. You are bringing them on the path with you.
And
Absolutely.
this is the best type of leadership, because you're not following you because they're afraid or they have to, but because they truly, believe in what you're doing, and they follow you because they want to follow you. This is the most powerful form of leadership,
Absolutely.
Wow, that's
Yes.
amazing. Love that. We can talk for hours and that's what I love about this podcast, talking with amazing people, been blessed for the past year. This is going to be episode 119. I can't believe that. 100 was just 2
congratulations.
weeks
That's
ago,
wonderful.
3 weeks ago. Thank you. It's been, it's been a journey. It's been, the best thing I've done in my life so far. And I've done quite a lot. This thing has been probably the best. I bought this on Amazon for like 83 Canadian dollars, which is 60 US dollars, probably the best $60 I ever spent buying this microphone. Yeah. Because it's opened so many doors But you know, the most powerful thing it has allowed me to do, especially me after living in all these countries, being involved in all these businesses, I was always, jumping from one business to another, getting distracted by the shiny object, always chasing my tail. The most powerful gift from the podcast has been even over and beyond all these wonderful connections, wonderful friendships I make around the world. Because the guests I bring on my podcast, they're not just a guest; they're a friend. The people that become my client, they're not just a client or a number on a spreadsheet. They're actually friends. We keep in touch, and we can't wait to meet each other in person once the world reopens. But the most beautiful gift and all of that has been me finding my voice, finding my purpose, my
Absolutely.
passion. That's the most invaluable thing that this little thing has given me. So that's why I'm so passionate about podcasting, and that now I want to spread this knowledge and empower and inspire other heart-centered entrepreneurs to find their voice in order for them to become the leaders they are meant to be in their field, in order for them to have the greatest impact, because ultimately it's all about impact. What is
Yes,
money?
and how your voice is so important to um, articulate your story. I mean,
Yes,
story is so important, but you're using your voice to articulate it. That's so powerful.
absolutely. And as I was
Absolutely.
saying, what is money? Money is not just a transaction of value. That's one thing. When you go to the store, you buy something, you give the person the money, that's it. Thank you very much. Goodbye. You will not remember that. But if on top of the value, you have impact, then that's going to be memorable. That's going to be something, hey, and you will come back to that business. You will tell other people. You will become an ambassador for that business because you feel good. And that's what
Absolutely.
that's the whole thing I'm trying to build and spread around the world, is building impactful businesses.
Right. And your customers will tell stories to other people and they'll tell stories. Yes.
Absolutely. And when you focus on the impact, the money is going to take care of itself. That's one of the most powerful lessons I've learned over the past year, when I made the complete switch from focusing on money and profit to focusing on impact. It's been absolutely incredible, almost like in ways miracles.
Right. Right. Absolutely. This
Wow.
has been such
We can
great.
talk for hours, but let's start wrapping this up. Let me now ask you some question about rapid fire question about advices. What would you say has been so far the best piece of advice you've received?
Believe in yourself.
So powerful, yet we take it for granted. Absolutely. It's
Yes.
not cheesy, it's for real, you know?
Yes.
Now, what would you say has been the worst piece of advice you ever received?
You don't need a publicist, or you don't need, and how
Um,
I took that is, you don't need an expert to help you. You need experts all the
oh,
time. You
yes.
need people
Oh,
who
yes.
know what are going on, and don't be afraid to ask.
What does the expert bring you? It makes you save, most importantly, not just money, but time. It's a shortcut.
Absolutely.
And time is
Absolutely.
priceless. You cannot, for me, the three most important things in life are your time, your health, and your relationship with the people that matter. Everything else is completely secondary.
Yes.
Absolutely. Now, if you were, imagine that you were blessed with a time machine, you can go back in time and sit face to face with the 18-year-old Jessica. What would be the number one advice you would give to her, knowing all that you know now?
I would say do something that scares you every day, and don't be afraid to do things that are scary, because that's how you grow. That would
Absolutely.
be my advice. Yes.
Absolutely. Love that. Love that.
People deal with fear in different ways, but deal with fear as quickly as you can. Just
Mhm.
and it's going to be your companion for the rest of your life. So
Absolutely. Now, I recall you don't have your podcast yet, correct?
I'm sorry,
I recall you don't have your podcast yet.
I don't have my podcast yet.
Okay.
I'm
Now,
looking
imagine
forward.
that you add your podcast, and today you have the most special guest in the world, which is you're interviewing yourself. What would be the first question you want to ask yourself? Don't think too much. What is the first question that comes to your mind that you want to ask yourself?
How did you make it to where you are? What story would you tell? Yeah,
And your
that's what
answer?
I'd ask.
And your
In my
answer?
answer, oh, I would say I was blessed to be a human being at this time, and I was called to be here. It's
Absolutely.
just very important that I'm here now. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amazing. Now, my favorite question to ask is one of the last question I will ask you is, what is the smallest thing you've done that has had the biggest impact for both your business and your life? And by small, I don't mean something small. I mean the one thing you've done that has had the biggest impact, positive impact in both your life and business so far. Like for me, it's been starting this podcast. How about you?
Well, I would say, and interestingly enough, this has to do with how I met you.
Wow.
But Leslie, another one of our group, she wrote a Facebook post, and I responded to it. And it turns out when I was looking at her background, oh, she's from Santa Barbara. Well, I lived in Ojai, so there was a connection there. But it turns out we grew up within 8 miles of each other.
Wow.
So that was very special. And so she connected me to Tyson, connected me to you. So just that small, I'll write a sentence to this person, I'll answer this Facebook prompt, and boom, I was connected into a worldwide loving organization. And
Amazing.
boy, that's incredible.
For me, looking back on this year that is about to finish, one of the most influential connection people I've met was also Tyson, because I got connected to Trish. Trish connected me to him, and he literally opened the gates to his wonderful kingdom to me. And through that, I met so many wonderful, amazing people like you, like many others. And yeah, it's been the most influential meeting of the person I met this year. One of the most, I would say.
Absolutely. Yes.
And as I keep telling him, we need to all come together, pitch in, and build him a statue. I don't know where we're going to put the statue, but I told him, I don't know if you were there last on Tuesday night. I told him, listen, man, we're going to, at least if you want for now, we can make you, if you want, like a chocolate or like a donut statue and send it to you and whatnot. I'm not just going to survive the 20-hour flight from North America to Australia, but let's save it for when we can actually give it to you in person. We can go to a bakery in Australia and get it there done. But
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, he deserves it. Seriously, he deserves it.
Yeah, he's a very good soul, able to bring people together and educate and inspire. It's wonderful to know this group.
And the most amazing thing is being able to get to that level, to have this kind of enlightenment at such a young age. I wish I had this enlightenment a lot earlier in life, but I think everything happens at the right time.
Yes, it does. Absolutely. Being at the right place at the right time is a reality. Absolutely.
Awesome. Yeah. Listen, I love talking to you. It's amazing, but last question I will ask you. And this question is for me, for my benefit. I know you're a very kind soul. I want you to give it up straight to me, be very direct, tough love. Any tips for me to improve my podcast?
You've got excellent questions. I'm distracted just by, there's a kind of halo around your head.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's the only thing that's a distraction to me. You've got great questions. You've got great, tone, the whole podcast is cohesive. So that's been really wonderful. I think just one thing, and I didn't correct you at the beginning, and I should have, is I'm not a therapist in the traditional therapist sense, but I am a spiritual director. They've just got, they're closely related, but they're just a little bit different. So just to let you know.
All right, perfect. Thank you. My bad. Yes. All right, cool.
No.
Awesome. And if someone wants to connect with you, what's the best way to do so?
To go to my website. So it's www.jessikasatori.com, and it's spelled JESSIKASATORI.
Awesome. I'll definitely put that in the show notes. Do you want to share any other link, any other contacts on the show notes for people? If you have the title of your book, I remember you said you have a book. If people want to get your book, what's the title of the book?
It's called Synchronicity, The Entrepreneur's Edge, and it's going into reprint. So it's not quite available yet, but it will be the beginning of the year.
Awesome. Fantastic. I will definitely put that in the show notes. Listen, Jessika, absolute honor, pleasure talking to you. Super happy that we connected. Everything happens for a reason. And for some reason, not for some reason. Sorry, let me take that back. It was meant that you were the first person for me to share what I just had just before this call. It was
Oh, it
amazing.
was my pleasure.
That was
Yeah,
amazing. And yeah,
it was very special, and I'm glad I could lend my listening ear to you.
yes,
Yes.
you're a special person, not just because of that, but also, I mean, the fact that this happened to you even strengthened the fact that you're special as a person, also special for me because you were the first person to be here for me to share this very touching and transformational experience I just had. So thank you for that. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your ears, for your 2 ears.
Well, thank you for having me to this podcast, and
Pleasure.
I'm looking forward to your training. I just think it's wonderful, phenomenal what you're
Absolutely.
doing.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That actually will start on Monday. So super excited with that, working nonstop around the clock to bring amazing team together. I can tell you after that, but yeah, absolutely super excited. I'm actually not just excited. I feel blessed because for me, it's all about impact. I want to help people to heart-centered people to really find a voice to bring more, impact out there because it's all about impact. It's all about empowering and inspiring people to build beautiful businesses that's going to also help us together to create a better world.
Absolutely.
This is the mission. It's sure we all need to make money, but let's make money in a way that's impactful, meaningful, and purposeful.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
my
And
my
spiritual.
philosophy. All right,
Yes.
listen, amazing talking to you once again. Stay safe, stay awesome, keep shining your light, keep blessing the world with your wonderful presence and wisdom. We'll definitely in touch. So until next time, have a wonderful day, my friend. Take care.
Thank you. You as
Bye bye.
well.
God bless. Bye bye.
Bye.